Hello, book besties.
I'm Albie.
And I'm Nikki,
Welcome to Backstage with the Book Babes.
where we spill the tea on the secret lives of your favorite romance authors. Hello, we've got a Canadian author with us today who writes in multiple genres, so we can't wait to introduce you to her. But first off, what have you been up to, Albie?
I am working on a secret project right now. My Grow Awesome should be about to release as of this release date, and I'm working on a secret project that I'm very excited to share with people as soon as I'm allowed to.
Ooh,
It's going to be
allowed.
awesome.
That's exciting.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be
Ooh.
awesome. And I wanted to wear my Ace sweater today, but it's so bloomin' hot out.
Oh my
I had to
goodness.
just wear my Ace t-shirt because I was like, I'm
Nice.
not putting on a knitted sweater in this weather.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
I've got
it
my
would just be silly.
probably reading smut shirt
Ooh,
that
like it.
I got from Fiction and Fiber, who I love. They an Ontario business, and they're amazing.
Yeah, they are.
No, we're not sponsored by them. I just love them.
Yeah. But what have you been up to, Nikki?
I am finishing the last of the edits on my new release, which is coming out in July. So that'll be July 16th release. That is my cowboy celebrity romance that I'm very excited about. But also because I have no sense of self-preservation, I also am working on an anthology that I have to get edited by next week. It's for the Reader Nation anthology, but they have an editor doing the whole anthology. So I didn't really have a specific timeline that I knew I was working with. So then she wanted to have a call and she was like, yeah, can you get it to me within the next couple of weeks? And I was like, I can, but also I'm very busy, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine, right?
Everything's fine. Just fine. It's fine. Don't ask any questions. Just fine.
Exactly. We'll get through it. Oh my goodness. So that's what's going on with us. But now we are very excited to introduce you to Alli Temple, or Allison Temple. She writes under both names. So a huge book babe. Welcome to you, Alli.
Hello. Thanks for
Hi.
having me.
We are so glad to have you with us on today. Can you start off with just telling us a little bit about your books?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I write under two separate but not entirely different pen names. Allison Temple writes queer romance, very standalone, happy ever after romances, and Alli Temple writes queer, something in the spectrum of romance and fantasy. There's always a happy ending, but sometimes it takes 3 books to get there. So bigger stories, more plot. Yeah, Allison's a little bit bigger on the smut. And yeah. So I just published my 20th book at the end of April.
Oh, that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How many years have you been publishing for?
My first book came out in 2018.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you were in the
Well-
thick of it with all the, the big Kindle boom.
Yeah. I was really, my first book came out from a small publisher, but fairly quickly after that, I started publishing myself on KU. And now most of my books are wide now, but certainly had a good run on KU. And it's always interesting to see how the industry has evolved. And it has evolved over the last 8 years.
Yeah, seriously. Constantly
Mhm.
changing.
Yeah.
Always. It's wild.
Sorry for that face. The cat just fell backwards, like head first off my lap, and I had to catch her. She's fine.
Well, I'm getting shaky camera work here because Simon is cleaning himself right beside my laptop and it's shaking my desk. And I'm like, dude,
Lovely.
Calm down there.
Oh my gosh. So, Alli, how spicy are we thinking for these books? You said Allison's a little bit smuttier, but what are we talking
I mean,
here?
I don't know that I've ever written anything that would be higher than medium heat. Like there's, I'm looking over at my bookshelf. The Allison books, you can expect usually 2 to 3 spicy scenes in a book. Definitely open door and explicit. And the Alli books are all pretty low heat, actually, because there's just so much story to get through. There's always a really satisfying romance, but definitely a lot of the time I refer to them as low heat, high adventures. So that's sort of the
That's
trade-off.
Oh, that's awesome, though. Yeah.
I love that. These sound like a lot of fun and writing in so many different genres and pairings. How do you pick what to write next?
The moon, the stars. a joke on Twitter. Really, I mean, obviously from the way I jump around in genres, like I have a very short attention span. So it really is about what's gonna hold me long enough to get to the end of a book or the end of a series. So yeah, I mean, it's really about the story that's calling and what I'm finding meaningful. If you look, there's sort of like two big arcs in my publishing career. The first bunch of books are really about how stupid office life is because I had quit my job and I was writing and I was producing podcasts and doing a lot of different things and just sort of coming to grips with the ending of that phase of my life. So the early books, there's a lot of people who quit their jobs or realize they don't have to be the person they always thought they had to be. And now there was definitely a streak of grief and death books in the last couple of years, which was definitely a like fallout from the pandemic. Not something I intentionally set out to do, but you know, we went through some stuff. So yeah, there's inspiration everywhere. My best-selling series is The Pirate and Her Princess, which is a lesbian pirate romantasy
Oh,
series.
cool.
And that one started as a joke on Twitter in 2018 about how The Princess Bride, which is the best movie of all time, would have been even better if Buttercup had had a hot lesbian pirate girlfriend. And I literally put it on Twitter as like just a random thought on a Saturday. And then all of these people were like, oh my God, I need to read this book. And I was like, maybe I could write that book. And then it took over my life for 5 years. So
Of course.
I really admire authors who like have their publishing schedule planned out for the next 3 or 4 years. And they're like, I'm writing in this world and it's got these spin-offs. And like, I just unfortunately don't function like that. So inspiration comes when it comes.
Yeah.
So when you're writing, are you a plotter or a pantser? Somewhere in between.
I desperately, for the 8 years of my career, desperately have tried to be a plotter and have failed almost every time. Yeah, I have just accepted it at this point. I need the dopamine too quickly. I'm not a big researcher. I know some authors like the research is the thing that they run again, the speed cubing, the like they want to get deep into the rabbit hole and learn everything there is. And I only did that once, which was it was a rom-com called Up North. It was set at a fishing lodge in Alaska.
cool.
And I watched like days of YouTube videos of other people at fishing lodges in Alaska and learned everything you never wanted to know about halibut. Otherwise, I don't want to research. I don't want to plan. I just want to start writing and see what sticks, which sometimes works really well, and sometimes I regret my life choices significantly later. But yeah, it just seems to be the way that it works for me.
Yeah.
Nice.
So true. Nice. I was prepared for you to say something about like let you learn not tying for the pirate one or something.
No, so
That'd be
the
cool.
pirate one is funny. People always ask about the pirates and research, and I did almost no research for that series, largely because I already came from a like family of maritime history nerds. Like we just unreservedly we go to shipwreck museums and the whaling museums. I went to university in Nova Scotia. Like I have been researching that book my entire life. So when it came time to write it, there was a little bit of Googling, you know, how do you sail a tall ship through a thunderstorm? But a lot of the like really basic stuff was already sort of locked in there. So yeah, research and it just feels like I could be writing instead of learning everything there is to know about halibut, which very little of that actually wound up going in the book. So
Yeah.
that's what I learned for research.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's the thing too, like so many people they get lost on the research rabbit holes, which is fun, but like you said, how much of it goes into the book? I'd rather write the whole book and then be like, what research do I need to fill those spots?
Exactly. And it is important. I saw someone online recently that was like, please, if you're writing hockey romance, just do the bare minimum of research. There are not 4 quarters in a hockey game. And so like,
Seriously.
you do have to do a little bit of research if you're writing about something you don't know very well. I just seem to have chosen either to write about things I do know really well or things like my Afterlife series where I just get to make it all up anyways.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the other path you can choose is if you don't want to research, just make it all up and then no one can claim you did it wrong.
Fantasy. Exactly. Yeah. And with my current book, because they're filming like a TV show. So there was some things about that I had to like retrofit after I'd written the first book because I was like, I had made this one person the director, but then I realized they don't have one director for every episode of TV shows. They have one showrunner and then they hire different directors. So I was like, okay, she's the showrunner then. And then just a couple of details like that you were like, yeah, okay. But you can look it up as you go.
That's not quite
right?
how that works.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I released my first sports romance this winter, Ski Cross Lovers. And I did actually do a little bit of romance research about that one because it was set at the Olympics and I wanted to understand, like I understand the sport, but I just wanted to understand the structure of, you know, what's it like? You obviously don't get off a plane and go to the ski hill and compete. How long are you there for? And, you know, what are your practice days like and things like that. So I do it occasionally. There were still little things that I was not totally sure about that so far no one has called me out on. So hopefully I got it right. But yeah, unless someone sends my book to the Olympic team, we will probably never know.
Yeah.
Oh,
was that part of a Shared World series?
Yeah. So that was part of
Yeah.
the Love on the Podium series, which was 5 queer romances all set at the Olympics. And so we had Ski Cross Lovers, A Gold Medal in Love, which was hockey and figure skating, On the Button, which was a male-male curling. Not a lot of curling romances out there. And then we did A Good Puck. I might have reversed A Good Puck and A Gold Medal. Anyway, because they're both hockey and both like Alex and Rochelle, who wrote those, like worked really closely together to make sure. Obviously, Canada and the U.S. can't both win the gold medal, so they worked closely together. And then Cross Country Love was our wrap up, which was a sapphic cross country skiing by Erin McClellan. They're all awesome. It was a great series. It was a lot of fun to work on.
That's awesome. Yeah. I definitely saw that online for sure because I'm friends with some of those authors.
For sure.
Online.
Yeah. And then so for your writing, how did it come about that you joined this group to make the Shared World?
How did it come about? I invited my friends. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big advocate of making author friends. Like when I see baby authors starting out, you guys know, I mean, when you're starting out, the most important thing you can do is make author friends. And so, you know, that way you have someone to bounce ideas off of, you have someone to cheerlead for you. And when you come up with a terrible idea, you can have someone politely tell you in a group chat, like, that's really not a good idea, as opposed to putting it out in public and getting yelled at for it on Threads or TikTok or whatever. So I invited my friends. Erin and I have been publishing together basically since I think her first book came out 6 months before mine did. Jamie is from Sudbury, so we see each other at a lot of Canadian romance author events. And Rochelle and Alex are both writing in the sapphic romance space, which is somewhere I've been sort of dipping my toes for the last couple of years. So I was keen to have them on board too. So yeah, I mean, I know that sometimes you'll see shared worlds where there's sort of like public announcements. And if you're interested, sign up here. I have done some of those. They're fun too. But I like working with a sort of tighter group and, you know, really building up the world and working on the strategy. You know, it's great to hear that you said that you saw some of that because we worked really hard on the promotion and making sure that people were aware of the series because we released it specifically to coincide with the actual Winter Olympics. And so the promo push was really like, it's the Olympics. Here are the books you should be reading. Yeah. I mean, I happened to release them, 6 weeks after the last episode of Heated Rivalry, which was not anything anyone could have planned, but certainly in terms of like, hey, do you want more queer sports romance? Like,
that's perfect.
We can help you out too. So so it all timed itself really nicely.
That's awesome. Yeah. Our last author we interviewed was Kent Holland. He writes queer romance and he had published a hockey romance series, like the first book just before Heated Rivalry came out. So it was perfect timing.
Yeah. I mean, I say that a lot. People in publishing, you can't make, I'm sorry to tell you, you cannot fabricate success.
Yeah.
You can do your best. You can take the courses, go to the conferences, but it is actually really hard to just, this is the book and now it's a bestseller. But what you do have to do is when something hits at just the right moment, you have to have all the pieces in place to ride the wave for as long as you can. So I'm sure that's what Kent did, and that's certainly what we tried to do with the Love on the Podium series too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Nice. And then, so for your writing, when you are writing, do you have like a vibe that you need to have, like a specific writing place, a time, different snacks?
Noise canceling headphones are key. Even if I'm by myself in the house and there's no other distraction noise, I need the the suffocating feeling of there literally is nothing else going on. Yeah, but otherwise, have headphones and laptop will travel. Like, I mostly write at home. Lately, I've been writing on the couch, but I do have this lovely office I can work in as well. Airports, car dealerships, coffee shops. Yeah, I've written in all the places all the times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep. Love that. And then writing in so many different subgenres of romance, do you approach each genre differently? Are they different headspaces you have to get into?
I mean, I think like it's not different headspace. For me, it's always about the characters. It's always about the two main characters, who they are individually, who they start out as to each other, and who they wind up being. And so whether that's like a cute, 35,000 word novella that all takes place over the course of a weekend, or that's a 3-book series about a ghost and a grim reaper who have basically nothing in common to start with. Yeah, the thing that I'm always writing to, because I am a pantser, the thing I'm always writing to in my first draft is like, who are these people and what is the thing that's keeping them apart, and what is the reason that they decide to overcome that? I can't remember, I'm sure this gets thrown around in writing a lot, but what is the lie they tell themselves and what is the reason they finally tell the truth? Is the thing that I sort of try and stick with regardless of length or genre or whatever, because I think that makes people feel real and complicated and messy. And that's sort of the thing I try to hold on to as I'm starting and as I'm getting to the middle. And when things get bogged down, is it because I've forgotten that lie is still there, or is it because the reasons that lie existed aren't holding up anymore? Like, what's the problem?
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. And then you've mentioned in the past that one of the unifying things in your books isn't the tropes that you're using, but your own voice.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you've made your voice your brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a work in progress. But yeah, I realized, and it is reaffirmed to me regularly, because I can't just be like, I'm a smutty hockey romance author, or I write historical Regency romance. When I'm at events and people are like, "Oh, what are your books about?" It's like, how much time do you have?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my books are all the things you can expect from an Allison or an Alli Temple book are characters that feel very real. A lot of quirky found family side characters. There's always a sense of safety, even when things are going very bad. Like, I put books out in the world thinking like, this is it. This is my dark, angsty book. And then the feedback I get is like, oh, it was so cute. And so even when things are really hard in my books, there is this sense of safety that it is ultimately going to work out. And like, you may have to wait a couple books to figure out how that's going to happen. But I want I want the reader to feel taken care of, even when things are hard, when people are in the hospital, when the ship is sinking, whatever that may be. Yeah. And then a lot of humor. I like to think I'm funny. My characters, there's a lot of very dry humor stuff that sort of makes you pause and go, wait a second. Yeah. And that's just my voice. There's nothing I can do to
Yeah.
not have that in there. So that's just what the book is.
I think that's important though, because, readers know what they expect going in, and the people who
Yeah.
love your voice are the ones that you want to keep reading, like they're the
Yeah,
ones that are going to come
exactly.
back. People who don't, then that's not for them.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize that not everybody who started reading my cute, cozy, male, small town romances also wants genderless reapers and undead ghosts haunting Toronto. Like, these are different asks, but I want you to at least be confident that, even if the premise is very different. Oh, we have a incoming cat.
Oh,
Even
we have a
if
guest
the
cat today. What's
Yes.
their name?
This is Mango.
Mango.
And
So
he has been sitting on the shoulder. He's 3, but he
cute.
has been sitting on the shoulder in every Zoom and podcast and everything I've done since we've had him. So yeah.
cute.
So yeah. So even though, some are movie stars in Alaska and some are superheroes on a blind date that just goes on and on and on, I want the mood and the vibe to feel the same so that it's me.
Yeah, perfect. That's great.
That's awesome.
So for authors who are just starting out or looking to change up their branding, what would be the number one piece of advice that you'd give them?
I mean, I think the first thing is make author friends. Find the people that you keep seeing online who seem to be in the same place publishing career-wise as you. And it's scary, but, reply to them, build a relationship, make author friends. That's the most important thing. I would not have gotten where I am without all of the people in all of the various group chats offering moral support and criticism and everything else. As far as changing up genres, I was talking about this with someone recently. So I wrote, again, my first couple books were all sort of small town, slice of life romances. And then I made a stupid joke on Twitter about Princess Buttercup and her hot lesbian pirate girlfriend. And then Uncharted happened. And then it sold really well compared to my romances, my contemporary romances. And then I kind of panicked because it had meant to be this one-off thing that I had written. I had an agent at the time. She was interested in the idea. We parted ways. It's a whole thing. But I still had this manuscript and was like, well, I guess I'll publish it. But I didn't really think I was going to invest more time in this world and being a fantasy author. And then it sold really well. And then I remember talking to someone and being like, I've got these other contemporary romances coming out and I've got these other ones that I have to write. But also I feel like I should probably write another pirate book. And like, I feel like I'm on this publishing treadmill and I don't know how to get off and I don't know when I'm supposed to get off. And she went, I think you just get off. And I went, what? Like,
You can do that?
you can't just get off the treadmill. Like, I mean, you said you met at 20 books to 50K. Like, that's not the philosophy. But yeah, I think if you're feeling called to all of the the self-publishing advice and courses and things will tell you, like, find a niche, a marketable niche, and stick with it. Like, make that your brand, whether it's cowboys or vampires or, cozy mysteries or whatever. Like, find it and stick with it. And that is the advice. And I 100% realize that my advice is you don't have to.
Yeah.
But if you want to, do it. Be prepared that there's some extra work involved, obviously, in terms of you can't just, hi, I'm a hockey romance author now.
Yeah.
And selling, it's not an immediate success. The pirate books did sell pretty quickly or pretty well to start with, but they sold best after books 2 and 3 came out. And I'm not a terribly fast writer, so there was a year between each of those books. So that's a year of building momentum and another year of going, hey, this is picking up, and finding new Facebook groups to post in and finding new podcasts to be on and all of those other things. So that definitely switching niches is going to involve some more work, finding connections outside of your existing network. But if you really want to write the story, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I would tell baby authors, and then look at them really closely and be like, are you okay? Because that's a lot. Yeah, because the
Are you
things
sure you know what
don't
you're
know.
getting into? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the
Yeah.
things you don't know when you're starting out, and this is why, again, I think you have to make author friends, and it is really important that they be, like, we all want to be best friends with Nora Roberts or Rachel Reed. But it's really important to find authors who are at approximately the same place in their career as you, A, so you can learn together, and B, because I've already forgotten the things I didn't know with my second and third books. Like, I no longer think about those steps anymore. And so me befriending a newbie author would just be frustrating for us both, because I would be skipping over steps that they don't know, and I'd be looking at them going, how do you not know that? So it would be difficult in both directions. And so that's why I think you've got to befriend people who are learning the same things you are.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree that, because I think of my friends and like there's not a day, possibly an hour that goes by that we're not talking. And like even just asking questions, like the more elevated tweaks within your process, that's not a conversation I was ready to have 3 years ago.
No.
But now I'm like, just to clarify, what about this versus this? And it's just a different conversation.
Yeah.
So for your branding and of your voice, how does that carry over into your tabling at live events?
Don't spend a lot of time, because I don't have a unifying genre. I don't have sort of a unifying theme in the way my tables are put together, because instead I sort of group things. So over here is the Pirates and over here is the Reapers. Those are sort of my 2 big flagship series right now, so they get a lot of table space. And then mostly lately, I don't bring all my books to events anymore because there just isn't enough room on the table. So I bring, either the contemporary romances that are selling the best right now or the more recent one. Yeah. And they get their own little table here, so that, again, because I can't be like, hi, I'm a hockey. I keep harping on hockey romance, but it's a big seller, and it's an easy, people come up to your table, they see hockey, they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
So when people come up to my table, it's really more about them. What do you like to read? What was the last thing you read that you really enjoyed? Well, here, if you're into romantasy, let me show you my pirates. Versus
Mm-hmm.
if you're like, I'm really into hockey romance. Oh, we don't have that, but I do have ski cross lovers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the table is really about sort of keeping the things that are sort of harmonious together more than here is me as a brand. Come on by.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Yeah,
Cool.
it's awesome. So what do you like the best about live events, and what things do you find the most challenging?
I mean, the most challenging is being there and being on
Mm-hmm.
and not getting sucked into looking at my phone because it's noisy and, it's been a couple minutes since someone stopped by my table, and I've had some great events this year. I've had some events that could have been awesome, but it was pouring so badly in Toronto that every
Yeah.
person who walked in the door looked like they'd been for a swim.
Aw.
And I've been to
Yeah.
some events that were badly organized, badly promoted, nobody showed up.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to sit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's the part that's hardest is being there and being on, regardless of whether or not you've got a line of people waiting to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
or no one stopped in the last 20 minutes. The best thing is obviously when people do stop. The best thing. So I was at an event last weekend. It didn't go terribly well. It wasn't terribly well attended. And then on Monday or Tuesday, I got a message from someone that was like, hey, I bought your pirate book at such and such this weekend. It was amazing. I can't wait to read more of them. Are
Oh,
you going to be at
nice.
any more events in Toronto this month so I can buy the rest? And like, those 8 hours of sitting there trying to be present, suddenly it's worthwhile. I
Yeah.
mean, financially, not so much, but emotionally, professionally, that's so rewarding to hear from authors. I see people online who are like, is it weird if I reach out to an author and tell them I really
Yeah.
like their book? And like, please,
Please do. Yeah.
please reach out to the
Please.
author.
Yes.
Um, I will
Yeah.
do my best not to be too weird about it, but yes,
Yeah.
please tell me how much you liked my book. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the best part. I do, like, I have done, I think I had 5 events between May and June this year.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot.
So I do them and I like doing them. But yeah, they're energy wise, they're tiring and the return is uncertain, but I keep doing
Yeah.
them anyway, so I must enjoy
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you have any live events coming up that our listeners could come out and meet you?
Yeah, for sure. I have 3 more in-person events this summer. I'm going to be at Toronto Pride all weekend at the end of June with a bunch of other local authors. So our tent is called Read the Rainbow.
Nice.
And we are myself, Hudson Lynn, Lyndon Bell, Rochelle Wolfe, and Jen Burke. So all queer romance of different flavors and pairings and genres. And yeah, we'll be on Church Street, or actually we're just off Church Street all weekend, last weekend in June. July 19th, I'll be at Halton Pride in Milton, just outside Toronto.
Nice. Yep.
And end of August, we will be at Ottawa Pride. And then in the fall, I'm mostly sticking to Canada these days, but in October, I'll be at Romance A in Edmonton.
Oh, you're going there?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. I went last year and I'm going again this year and I'm very
Are
excited.
you? Amazing. Well, I will see you there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I love to travel for book events. It gets to take me to places I
Mhm.
probably wouldn't wind up as often otherwise. And in October is not
Yeah.
high, I think, on any Canadian's travel list, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
was.
those are the
Yeah.
4 events on my calendar right now for the rest of the year.
I went to Halton Pride last year just to go. I took my
Yeah, yeah.
daughter. So I might stop by there again this year because
Cool.
I can't make the Toronto one because I'm working. So
Yeah. Well, in Toronto Pride, I love it. It's a lot of fun, but it's huge.
yeah.
And if you're coming from out of town, particularly the World Cup will
Yeah.
still be on. It's going to
Travels.
be a whole
Yeah.
thing. So I don't blame you. I hope I see you at Halton.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. See what the timeline looks like.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay. And so how do you tend to pick which events you're attending? Any like proximity or?
Yeah. Unfortunately, right now I'm not doing as many events as I used to in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a great time to be traveling there. So most of my focus lately has been on finding new ways to reach other Canadian readers. It's all trial and error. The Pride markets I've been doing with Jen and Lynn for the last 3 or 4 years now, I think. And it's a great way, actually, those events are great for meeting people who are interested in obviously not all queer people want to read queer romance. but some people do. And it's a
Okay.
great way to reach people who aren't necessarily as engaged with things like Book Talk and Bookstagram and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. So we like doing Pride events. I like doing romance specific events. I was just we were talking before we started recording, but I was just at Love and Romance in Toronto. And then sometimes it's just vibes. The event I did where everybody looked like they'd nearly drowned to get there was the Toronto Dark Arts Market,
Okay.
which was down on Queen Street. It was a mix of like spooky and weird artisans, zines, jewelry, housewares, all sorts of stuff, cool stuff, and a couple authors. And I just thought the vibe was good for my Afterlife series. So I applied and they were very nice to accept me. And it was really well organized and well run. And it was just unfortunate that the weather sucked. So
Yeah.
I will go back to that, even if it's not specifically a book event. So yeah, trial and error. And sometimes, where am I going? I
Yeah.
went to 2 events in Australia last year,
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
largely because it was an excuse to go to Australia.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the odds of actually making my money back as an author on flights and hotels and all that stuff in Australia is pretty low. But my husband and I went for 3 weeks, like it was a once in a lifetime trip,
Mhm.
and the book events were a lovely cherry on top. So
Yeah.
yes, sometimes I just go because it sounds like fun.
Yeah.
That's a
What
partially
events were they?
subsidized trip.
Yeah, partially subsidized trip. So the events were I was at the Gaylit Oz or Glow in Brisbane,
Mhm.
and then I was at Rare in Melbourne. And
Nice.
Rare does events
Melbourne.
all over the place. Melbourne, we had so much fun in Melbourne. I was not expecting to enjoy Melbourne as much as I did. We had a great time.
Nice.
I lived in Melbourne for 3 years.
Amazing.
It was
Yeah, no, we had a lovely time.
best time. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to go back. And I'd
Mhm.
love for my books to pay for me to go back to visit my friends.
Well,
Yeah.
just start applying. You never know who will. I
Yeah.
mean, again, it's slightly subsidized. You still got to
Slightly
pay for them. It's a long way. The biggest trouble
Yeah.
with Australia is it's just so far.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but it was a great time. I would go back again, once we recover financially from the last trip.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. That's the thing about live events in general is
Mhm.
if you make back 2/3 of what you spent,
Mm-hmm.
you did great.
Yeah.
yes.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, this is also one of the reasons why I've been keeping it more local lately is because then really all I'm paying for is the table,
Mhm.
the printing costs, and my time. I don't also have to factor
Mhm.
in food and accommodation and travel
Hotels,
and all
yeah.
those other
Yeah.
things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's much easier to recover your costs if you're not going far. But there's something to be said for seeing new parts of the world.
Mhm.
So
And new readers, like you're reaching a whole new
new
audience,
readers,
right? Yeah,
new authors.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely goes both ways.
for sure.
Nice. Awesome. So speaking of conventions, shameless self plug, or not self because it's not me, but Nikki is planning a sports romance convention in Canada next
Amazing.
fall.
Yeah, yeah.
And so segueing into sports specific romance,
Yeah.
what are you thinking about all these sports romance shows that have been coming out lately? How is it
Ooh, I mean,
affecting? Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely the hot thing right now. I mean, Heated Rivalry was spectacular. Yeah, I'm a male romance fan, obviously. I'm not a huge hockey romance fan. I read Game Changers and Heated Rivalry before the show came out, but I hadn't read the whole series. But yeah, it was lightning. It was amazing. I was fortunate enough to go to the premiere of Heated Rivalry in Montreal,
cool.
which was awesome. I went with my friend Jen Burke. Like, it's amazing. It's especially amazing because of everything that happened afterwards. Like, everybody there was so unfamous at the time.
Mhm.
Like, Connor and Hudson were just 2 young actors who were happy to be there. They dressed themselves. Like, there were no celebrity brands trying to help them out. Yeah, and then they came to Toronto a couple days later. There was press and media and all that stuff. And then there was a signing at a bookstore downtown. And then my husband and I'd been just like, since I got back from Montreal, I've been like, oh my God, Heated Rivalry. And my husband, bless him, is not as much of a gay hockey romance fan as I am. Sort of like, okay, honey, like, can we talk about something else? And so we went to the Toronto Raptors game and we've been Raptors fans for years and we always sit way up in the nosebleeds because that's where normal people sit. But I'm sitting there and I don't know how I saw them, but I looked down and Connor and Hudson were walking through the ground floor, the lower bowl, walking towards their fancy courtside seats. And I'm like smacking my husband, being like, look, it's them. But again, now we're 2 days before the show drops. They're so unfamous that nobody looks at them. Nobody knows who they are. I take a video and it's literally just the backs of their heads. But I was like, oh my God, they're here. And then everybody else lost their minds. So yeah, so Heated Rivalry was everything. I mean, it was just a love letter to romance, to sports, to Canadian media. Like it's just gone in every possible way. Yeah, and I'm just so delighted for everybody, Rachel, Jacob Tierney, Connor and Hudson. Like I'm just so delighted for all of them and the success that's come from that because nobody predicted it. Like it could have been a quirky, small, queer Canadian show that, the people who already love the books watched and went, yeah, it was amazing. And everyone else was like, yeah, okay. And instead it became this phenomenon that like was bananas.
And I think it's great for romance in general too, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the number of people I see in my day-to-day life who know me, who have known me since long before I started publishing, who are like, so this Heated Rivalry thing. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, is that like what you do? And I'm like, well, I mean, not hockey, but yes, it's romance and it's queer and like, yeah, that part is close. So I mean, it has just transcended all of the bounds of what it could have been. Yeah, it just hit at exactly the right moment. But it is also like an example, I said before, you can't manufacture success. And like, it was just all of the things that had to happen to have that show get made in the way it was made, released when it was released, and grabbing hold of everybody so tightly right around Christmas time like that. Like you can't manufacture that.
Yeah.
If we take a look at the more recent example of Off Campus, I watched that as well. It was fine. I think if I'd been 20 years younger, I would have just thought it was the most heart-flutteringly romantic thing. But I'm 45 and not nearly straight enough to really dig into it the way I would have back then. So, because I don't think it is in the same way a love letter to all of those specific things. It's a romance that appeals to a lot of people. It's certainly gotten good press and good attention, but yeah, I don't think it's landed the same way that Heated Rivalry did.
I also think that the off-campus books I would say they were bigger before the show than Heated Rivalry was, because I think a lot of people hadn't even heard of the Rachel Reed's books before. They were popular, but
yes, but they were popular within their niche. Like male romance is never going to sell as well as male-female romance. We'd love it if it did. And certainly, those books, Rachel's books right now specifically, are selling as well. But as a whole, they're not and probably never will. So even though everyone I know knew about the show, knew it was coming, knew what was going to be involved and was really excited for it, like my mom had no idea what it was. And now she sends me text messages every time she sees an article in the Globe and Mail about Rachel Reed. So it's, Off Campus had a bigger following to begin with. Yeah, but I think, some of the things about Off Campus are very much a product of when it was written too.
Exactly.
Like that's a 10-year-old book. And so some of the things that while I was watching the show, just sort of went like, like, I think when you were publishing 10 years ago, like those were really common plot points or tropes and things like that. And now we're watching them sort of going like, I think
they changed some things even for the show to modernize it.
For sure.
As opposed to what the books are. So it's even at that point, it's like they've changed some of that stuff because some of it's still like, not as,
Yeah, I mean, it's the challenge of an adaptation, particularly an adaptation of an older piece of media. I mean, Heated Rivalry was published in 2020, I think. So it's still, it's not brand new, but it's still fairly recent. It's the same thing that the people making Bridgerton run into every so often, where there's aspects to a story that those are 20-year-old books. And, and there are elements that just haven't aged as well. So, someone, the studio, the director, the writer has to make a decision about what to keep for sort of the sake of faithfully adapting something versus what needs to be trimmed or removed because it just won't jive with an audience in 2026.
For sure. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
I think the biggest thing to learn here too is like, don't write off your backlist.
No.
You know what I mean? Just because it didn't like hit right out of the gate doesn't mean that in 10 years or 4 years or whatever, that there's not going to be a show or a movie about it.
I mean, I keep harping on this. But, I mean, Heated Rivalry came out in 2020. Jacob Tierney was home in the pandemic, listened to it, thought it was unadaptable. He said so in interviews, like didn't think it was possible to adapt. Well, I mean, it's so smutty. if
Yeah. I was kind of
and
surprised because most times they won't make those into TV shows.
exactly. And so thought it was unadaptable. And then a couple years later, like read an article in the Washington Post about hockey romance and why is it so popular. And there was like a one-line mention of like, it's not just straight people, like gay people are into romance, hockey romance too. And they mentioned Heated Rivalry, and he panicked because like someone else is going to get the rights to this, and I'll be so mad. But again, there's so many little things that have to happen.
Exactly.
Jacob Tierney has to hear your audiobook, and then someone at the Washington Post has to write an article about it.
Yeah.
And then he's got to DM Rachel Reed and be like, what if we made a TV show? Like, there's just so many things.
Yeah.
So you can't write off your backlist because you never know when that one random person is going to read that book and be like, this would be an awesome movie.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I get that.
So yeah.
I will
Never
say
say
though,
never.
Jacob Tierney, if you are listening, my books are still available if you want to DM me and we
The
can
rights are
start
available.
yeah,
exactly.
we can start talking about it. So
we got some roller derby romances. I bet that would make
Yeah.
some great romance.
I
just saying.
have to think that his inbox,
yeah, seriously.
wherever it is just inundated with romance authors being like, by the way.
Yeah.
By the way, yeah.
I mean, it's great to be a victim of your own success.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just think his gaze for the film was just fantastic. For the TV show was a perfect gaze for it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, it 100%. It was. Yeah. It just. Yeah. I mean, it's not my book, but we could do a whole podcast just about.
Totally could.
About the faithfulness of the adaptation and other adaptations that maybe haven't been as successful.
Oh my gosh, we could do several podcasts on the ones that were not successful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So do these shows change the way you're viewing or planning? Are you going to write more sports romance, or are you kind of sticking with where you're at?
So the problem with me in sports romances is that I don't tend to want to write the kinds of sports that people love. I'm not a hockey fan. I've never been a hockey fan. I know that any day now the RCMP is going to show up at my door and tell me I have to leave Canada if I don't start watching more hockey. But yeah. And I thought, like I said earlier, I'm a big Raptors fan. But the NBA is so steeped in African American culture that I don't think I could write that accurately, honestly, faithfully. So I'm stuck. So my one sports romance entry right now is ski cross lovers. I think ski cross is the 4th least watched sport at the Winter Olympics. And if I were going to write more sports romances, we've talked about doing a second season for the next Summer Olympics. I think I'd probably do beach volleyball, which again, there's not a lot of beach volleyball romances out there.
Yeah, it's fun though.
My heart book, someday I'm going to write a romance about 2 guys on a team of sailors sailing around the world in a high performance sailboat, which is
talk about forced proximity right there.
Yeah. No,
seriously.
I mean, the potential is huge, but the number of people who are at home being like, I wish they published more around the world sailing race romances is like.
But what if they were used to be competitors and now they have to team up together?
There's a whole plan. I will tell you about it, and then you and your listeners can harangue me until I write it. So they were lovers. So it's the teenage son of a legendary sailor who's just turned 18, who's had a secret summer romance with one of the crew members. And then the crew member leaves. He and the father and the rest of the crew go off to sail around the world. The father drowns. And there's a whole fallout about who was responsible. And the son and the crew member don't speak for 10 years until they find themselves again on a boat. The son is now an extreme sports journalist, so he's been assigned to cover this boat on the race. The crew member is now a captain in his own right. Obviously, they have a lot of hurt feelings and baggage, and now they're stuck in basically a carbon fiber cigar tube sailing around the world. It's going to be epic.
I would read that. So fast.
Lots of people would read it, but I haven't found the right moment to sit down and write it. And I professionally, I'm not 100% sure that it's going to be the next Heated Rivalry. So I'm just sort of waiting for the moment commercially where sailing romance feels like it's on the upswing, and then it's hitting the shelves, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
We're waiting on it.
Absolutely.
Nice. If you could dreamcast one of your books, not necessarily Ski Cross Lovers, but any of your books, which would it be, and who would you have play the main characters?
So actually, I think Ski Cross Lovers might be at the top of my list right now. Not because it's specifically sports romance and sports romance is having a moment, but I think it would translate visually really well to the screen. Cedric and Austin are 2 best friends. They've grown up skiing together. Now they've made the Olympic team together. and Austin finally admits he's in love with Cedric, and then there's a accident skiing the next day, and Austin winds up in the hospital and forgets all of the confession and the night they spent together. And so now they're going to the Olympics, but only one of them remembers that they're in love. I struggle with fan casting because I'm getting old and like I don't
Yeah.
know who the young guys
I
anymore.
feel that.
So like Jacob
Same.
Elordi, are you out there? I think he would be fabulous in it. Yeah, and Austin, we need a young guy with blonde hair. Like my brain goes to Nicholas Galazatine, or Galatazine. I always mess up his last name, but I don't think that's quite it. So Jacob Elordi for sure, and then we can discuss who plays Austin. Yeah, we need a couple guys who can do a French Canadian accent is the tricky
Okay.
part. Yeah.
That's
I
important.
really,
We were talking like sports romance, specifically hockey, is having a moment.
yes.
You write in other genres. Do you
Yes.
see another genre or subgenre that you think will be growing in popularity and be the next big thing? Like we saw romantasy and then sports, and then what do we think?
So I don't know that this is on its way up. Because I wrote a series about Grim Reapers, I've noticed a lot of Reaper romances.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably plateauing because I do think that was a reaction to the pandemic and just being surrounded by all of that stress and death and grief. Yeah, what else is coming? I mean, vampires have to come back at some point,
Yeah,
right?
right?
Like
They always come back.
that was my gateway drug into romance was Twilight, and then just
Yeah.
kept going until suddenly the vampires were having sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's got to come back at some point. I would love vampires are so broody and over the top. Those are the ones that really seem to be that's what I would love to see come back anyway. I don't know if it will, but I would read all of those.
I do feel like there's a shift going towards more of the paranormal romance as opposed to the romantasy for sure. Like I feel like
I think
werewolves
so.
had a real moment, but now there's so many other areas to explore, and I really think that is probably.
I do see a lot of not a lot of, but I have seen some people who are like, I bought this. They said it was romantasy, but it's actually more like urban fantasy. That's not the same thing.
Exactly.
So definitely, I don't advocate misbranding your book for the sake of trying to ride someone's coattails. That's how you piss readers off. But I do think that you are going to see urban fantasy and paranormal trying to find the outsides of that and, ride in when they can. And it would be great to see more paranormal contemporary fantasy kind of. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Sure,
I'd like to see more angels or half angels.
They had a moment for a while too. Yeah.
Yeah. They were good. I really liked them. Lauren Kate, I think, had several.
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
I can't even think of the names either,
Becca
but there was a
Steele,
whole
maybe.
thing. There's also Cassandra Clare's
Cassandra
books
Clare.
were sort of
Mortal Instruments. Yeah.
I think J.R. Ward, had angels ages ago, back before angels were cool.
Oh, and Nalini Singh, I think that's the other one.
My first, so the Afterlife Incorporated series is, as I've said a couple times, a Ghost and a Grim Reaper, but the original version of that was an angel and a human, but it got kind of weird and religious, and I didn't really want to write a book about religious trauma. But a lot of the things that I wrote in that first book got folded into Ghost and the Reaper, which very specifically was like, this is not about religion, it's just about death. So I got to avoid some of those painful and awkward questions.
For sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
Now, if you could go back and do one thing over for your career, what would it be?
I'd worry less about the treadmill. Yeah. I mean, I certainly, my first, again, I'm looking at my bookshelf. My first 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say my first 9 books were all contemporary male romance. And I'm certainly very proud of them, proud of the books that went out. Readers enjoyed them. But I think the thing I've learned in the last 5 years is sometimes you just got to go for it. Take the wacky idea, you take the Ghost and the Grim Reaper. That also started as a joke. A lot of my books do. Yeah, you just gotta take the shots, you gotta take the chances. I started, this is also for any writer out there, I started watching Korean TV dramas in 2022, and they're my favorite thing in the whole world. And there's nothing like a Korean TV drama to teach you that anything is a great idea. It's all in the execution, and no idea is too wacky. You could be like, I don't know, that sounds pretty weird. Korean dramas have already done it, and someone at a production office was like, that is great, put it in a show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, those, I mean, I love them, but they're so over the top. But also, sometimes the best ideas, my husband and I watched a show this fall, last fall called Typhoon Family. which was set in I think the 70s and was about like the high stakes world of consumer product import export. Like it was not,
Ooh.
I want to be in the room when the show got pitched and they were like, yes, let's do that one, because nothing about it on paper makes it sound like this is going
Yeah.
to be like a really enthralling show. And it was great. Every episode was exciting. They were trying to sell steel-toed shoes and I was like, oh God, are they going to make it? So yeah, so there's no such thing as a bad idea. You just got to be patient with yourself in the
For sure.
execution.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that. So, having written 20 books, what is one thing that would happen that would let you know, like, you've made it as an author that isn't money?
Hmm. Besides Jacob Tierney showing up in my DM.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
That'd be
I
great
mean,
though.
yeah,
love
it
that.
would be. I've made it as an author. Like again, I love hearing from people who have read the books and love them, who want more fan art.
Oh, yeah.
Like if someone drew my characters and tagged me in an Instagram post, I would just like there would be no more books because I would die.
Happy though.
But yeah, my goals are low. Like it doesn't have to be an HBO deal. It could just be a couple pieces of fan art and I would probably die happy. So,
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. I mean, you got to be. I was talking to someone recently, and like, you got to be a little bit delusional in this business. Like, it's so every part of it is difficult. Every part of it is a little bit lonely. So you've got to believe
Oh,
that someday Jacob Tierney will show up in your
Yeah.
DMs, because otherwise, why do we keep going?
Yeah.
Because
So,
we
yeah.
have to.
Because we
Yeah.
have to. Yeah. So let's start with fan art, and then we'll go to the HBO adaptation next
For
year.
sure. Yeah, that's perfect timing.
That's exactly how
Yeah.
that works.
My whole philosophy of publishing is just basically be delusional. So I told Albie
Yeah.
the other day I was going to TM the phrase deluluism. That's my
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we can't have hot girls read, so we can have
deluluism.
deluluism for
That's
sure.
our author motto for sure.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, we have time for it. Let's put it on the plate.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Oh my gosh.
So we like to turn it around on the readers a little bit. So what's one question you like to ask readers? For everyone listening out there, we'll post it on our Instagram account, Threads, or you can comment on the YouTube video.
What's one question I like to ask readers? I mean, I think so. Two-part question. What's the last book you read that you would recommend to everybody? And then what's the book you read at 16 that you would still recommend to everybody?
Nice. Yeah, that's a good
Because I
one.
think we all have one of those. Sometimes they don't age terribly well, but they're ours and we love them. Yeah. So I'd want to know, what is that book?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect. And then we have one final question.
Yes.
If you could read any trope for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Second chance romance.
Yes.
Sorry, did I say that too quickly? Yeah, the pining that comes from second chance romance, and like I never stopped loving you, and or I did stop loving you, but now I realize what a terrible idea that was. Yeah, I'm just a sucker for that. So yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Yes. Always
Good
good.
choice.
Always good. Well, thanks so much for coming out and letting us peek behind the curtain of your author life, Alli. Before we forget, can
Absolutely.
you tell us what you're working on and when it'll be released?
No.
Okay.
So normally I would say yes and enthusiastically tell you about my next release, but I had a rough winter and spring, started a lot of books and set them aside. I just haven't found that thing that I'm clinging to. So I will tell you that I'm currently working on a male romantasy about two doofuses who are completely unqualified for the adventure they are on.
Perfect.
But until that first draft is done, I cannot guarantee that I will ever publish it. So, yeah, but I have all those in-person events coming. I have something fun coming for the Afterlife Incorporated fans. And I do the Uncharted Pirate and Her Princess series had a special edition from Rainbow Crate last year, and they are doing books 2 and 3,
Nice.
Unbroken and Unleashed, in special edition later this year. So if you already have that first book, the other two will be available. I don't have the date, but end of this year. And if you don't have the first book, it is available. You can buy it now.
Beautiful.
Sweet.
Love that.
Awesome.
Love a special
Nice.
edition.
It's so gorgeous. It just makes my heart happy.
Yeah. And then where can our listeners find you and your books? And then we'll also post those in the show notes.
My website is allitemple.com, or you can find me at allisontemple.com. They all go to the same place. My Social media these days, you can find me mostly on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. They are all Allison Temple at Allison Temple Books. Yeah, and I have a newsletter that I only really send out when I have new books to talk about. So I promise not to spam anybody who does sign up for it. And you do get a sapphic romance told from the perspective of the cat if you sign up for that.
Fantastic.
Fun.
So
Love
yeah, if
that.
you want something completely different, Catus Interruptus, you can find it on my website.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay. And then to our listeners out there, if there's any questions you think we missed and we should have asked Alli, pop them in the comments below or on our social media account and we'll pass them on. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Alli. Thanks for getting dirty with us. If you had fun, leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. New episodes will be released every Wednesday, and we've got an amazing lineup of authors to share with you.
If there's someone you'd love to see on our show or you've got burning questions for your favorite authors, send us an email to backstagewiththebookbabes@gmail.com or leave us a comment on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, Backstage with the Book Babes. Links and applications for authors to join us as guests are at linktree/Backstage with the Book Babes.
You can follow me, Albie Blake, with that handle on social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok.
You can follow me, Nikki Jewell, and learn about my books at authornikkijewell.com. I'm also on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at NikkiJewell_books.
Thanks again for joining the party. Keep turning those pages and keep it spicy.